I'm Kadambri Raghukumar, and I've called Aotearoa, New Zealand home for about 15 years now. One of the many things that I love about this place is the thriving art scene. But in 2021, I want to get to know more artists who represent people like myself.
It's okay to exist as you are and not explain yourself. And I feel like that's a big thing of taking control back in your life and your personality and just being able to be yourself.
I first saw and heard Imugi's music on YouTube through some random Facebook link and instantly took to their 90s synthy and glitchy sound and lo-fi videos. I didn't know at the time that they were Auckland-based. Around the same time, while I was on a short stint in India, I saw this video online by Hans and really liked his smooth and slick sounds born out of the North Shore in Auckland. And when I figured that these tunes were all entirely homemade, I had to know more.
I guess we just grew up in that generation that, like, a lot of people call it like the DAP mixtape generation of like the early 2010s almost. I guess the kids in like my era, we just picked up on it and ran with it. And then around that same time was when Mac Miller was just starting to blow up. Again, also on the internet. He was like an internet rapper back then. He wasn't mainstream. And just to see a guy, like a suburban guy who's having his own take on hip hop, I thought that was really cool. And it kind of made me believe that, you know, I guess like maybe I do have something to say as well.
Had to go and count 2 chains on my neck, swing round 2, say I'm different.
I do get a lot of comments from people being like, I never realized that he was Korean. But there is that whole thing of like, you rap, but you're Korean. That part actually, on the flip side, is a bit like, I guess I'd aspire to be an artist where it wouldn't matter if I was Korean. I think would be like the coolest thing.
I think it's so cool when high school friends get together and create something. To know someone through such formative years and then become creative partners is pretty much what happened with Carl and Yeri. With Yeri's Korean family, though, the flow wasn't quite the same.
Growing up in like a conservative family, there's a lot of layers to it. But I think you grow up being taught these things, how to shrink yourself and make yourself more palatable, and especially as a woman. And if you're like queer, and then you're like trying to find strong roots of yourself at the same time. Those like intersections of identity are like something that will always be part of who you are, but I don't want that to be like branded on me. Like I don't want to always be shown as like, this is Imugi and this is the Korean in the group, and because they are a Korean group.
I don't know, making beats on my computer and like production type stuff has always just been a hobby of mine since I was like 12 or 13. When I'm working with Yeri with music, it gives the piece of music like a reason to exist, you know, and it's like creating a platform for Yeri to like share her thoughts and like share her story without wanting to hold back or anything like that.
That's nice.
When I was younger, all I ever wanted was like 10,000 plays. Because on SoundCloud, when you get to 10,000 plays, the view counter, you get the K at the end. That's all when I was like 18, 19, that's all I ever wanted. So to go from wanting that to having like millions of streams is pretty cool. I think the bigger part when I was starting, especially that, again, that like first 1 or 2 years, it was all very upbeat because one, I was young and naive and just having a good time. So I think I did have a bit more energy back then.
And now you're just an old man?
Just had the soul sucked out of me. But after a while, I kind of just got sick of doing that same, you know, run. I think that's why these days a lot of the songs that I do make are a lot more slower tempo, but in that instance also a bit more introspective.
2014 to 2021, how have you guys changed as musicians?
I think at the core of it, I don't think a lot has changed when it comes to us making music, because it's still me coming over to Carl and Casey's place and us sitting in various bedroom studios or garage studios throughout the years, and because we were signed for a time, but now we are independent again, which is good. That experience taught us a lot. So I think when it comes to standing our ground and maintaining both creative control and also like business control, I feel like that's been a big journey that's still ongoing today.
Video gamey, manga and doodle-inspired graphics could be one way to describe their videos. And it's Casey who's the core collaborator when it comes to their mostly analog-style visuals.
I think something really important to me is like I don't like to just stick to one medium. I really like the phrase, jack of all trades, but master of none. I feel like I love being like able to do anything and everything. The forms of like things that I make, it's like quite analog, and like I feel like it really takes you back to like when you're at school in primary school and you're like paper macheing things and like cutting things together. It's like quite a, I don't know, like a natural form of creation, I guess.
Auckland has one of the most diverse music scenes in the world, so much so that it's officially UNESCO City of Music. And it's in the middle of this busy collab scene that Hans and Imugi gravitated towards each other.
Yuri and Kyle, we all went to the same school, but we didn't know each other in high school, which was the craziest thing. Yeah, they put out a song and it was crazy, and I just hit them up like, hey, like, you want to do something together? I guess just naturally over time that forms a community in itself, but also Auckland's very cool in that because it's a very intimate city, it's not hard, I don't think personally, to get yourself in the mix.
The Auckland music community was really welcoming for us. It's not about like how good you are at playing your instrument, and it's not about giving the best performance ever. It's just about getting up there and doing it. It became really important to cultivate this really comfortable environment where anyone that's been making music can get on the stage and share it with other people and, you know, get paid for it.
I guess at the heart of it, choosing to stay indie is really about holding space for your own authenticity. That can't always be easy, but I love how unwavering these artists are.
Being able to just do what we do and not have any expectations about it, not put expectations on other people, and not really care about anything outside of that, I feel like that's the best thing that we've come to.
For me, music is a meditation, and I think it's a way to express my feelings.
I had no idea about this despite living in Auckland for nearly 15 years, that there's a whole buzz in South Auckland with original, homegrown Punjabi music.
Vairowalia is my birthplace. It's a historic village. Yeah, I can't describe in the words. It's in my dreams, it's in my thoughts always. And I'm always trying to describe in my songs as well. I always write about the immigrants and our Punjabi culture and which problems they are facing in New Zealand and in everywhere abroad. At the present time, I'm writing about Kisan agitation. It's a farmer protest is actually in the Corona time when everyone was in lockdown. Indian government brought 3 bills on the agriculture. Every farmer is thinking that these are not beneficial for the farmers because they wanna give everything in the hands of the corporates. So everyone is protesting against the government. This is an important subject for me. My father was farmer. Even my granddad, his father, they were farmers. And even me, when I was in India, I was doing the agriculture. So that's why it's too close to my heart.
ਤੇ ਲਓ ਅਗਲਾ ਗੀਤ ਸੱਤੇ ਵੈਰਵਾੜੇ ਦੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਫਾਰਮਰਸ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਇਹ ਗੀਤ ਫਾਰਮਰ ਪ੍ਰੋਟੈਸਟ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਇੰਜੋਏ।
I salute those people who are in the protest, and there is a very cold weather and they are sleeping on the roads. But we can do from here something. So that's why I'm singing. These are the revolutionary compositions. These songs can feel energy to them.
And that was the latest song by Satta Vairowalia, coming to you live from Radio Spice. Radio Spice is a hub for all things Punjabi in Auckland, and it's really helped Satta's music gain an audience. Navtej Randhawa, who runs it, plays a massive part in really pushing local talent.
I think our story is very unique in New Zealand. I'm starting to feel that some of the lyrics, say like Satta's and some of the other artists who are here, their struggles are very unique to the New Zealand way of life, which could only be understood in a New Zealand context. And globally, as a Punjabi diaspora, it actually gives people a window of opportunity to understand, our way of life. Satta has really given a voice to a lot of migrants, newcomers into the country, and he is probably one of the artists who has not only written the lyrics, because he went through the same phase himself.
Satta's big on community and creative collaboration, and every time he walks into a studio, that becomes really obvious.
I clearly remember the first time we did a song. It's a small confined space that we're working and trying to record and do everything in there. I'm learning how to do this, all of that kind of stuff. We did a line by line, I expected us to finish 1 hour, and it took us a whole day to record the song.
So you were both almost learning together at the same time through the process?
Yeah. So,
that's amazing.
And then that's when sort of he figured out, hang on a sec, he's got some patience. He can work with me, and I realized, hang on a sec, he doesn't have many demands, and now we can work together on the same thing. So that sort of led for us,
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
He's very patient. And, he's always very receptive. But he leads the project in the sense that he knows what he wants. But he also gives us space to do what we want to do. So in that sense, it's always good.
My creative process is very natural. I also have not any idea how the thoughts are coming in my mind, and sometimes in 2 or 3 minutes, nature giving me a song. My most important inspiration is my wife. She is giving me everything, every chance to write songs. She is always with me in up and downs and arranging everything, even when in the shoots, when we are recording the song. She's always with me everywhere. She's my backbone. I'm lucky. When I'm coming out with Turban, I'm always feeling proud in me, because it gives us not even a different look. It's give energy from inside. And when I'm going through the people, and I'm walking proudly. The meaning of Sikh for me is, it means a learner. Anything from a life, anyone you meet. And it's a good way to live the life.
I guess for most musicians, finding that balance between creative freedom and commercial viability is always a challenge. More so, I think, for people who've migrated here.
It's a very busy life here. It's hard to produce music. My main occupation is driving here, and we have no time to do properly practice, and it's costly. An artist can only think about a time. I want just time to have right songs, to do my practice, and just singing and everything. It's my dream. I'm thinking New Zealand will produce good music for the world in the future. I think I'm just doing my part, what I can do.
When I started playing the bass, my hands just sort of fit on it. It just kind of knew what to do. And I find it very, very natural. I've always found it extremely natural, even from day one.
Malay-inspired jazz is something I only heard of when I met this man in Wellington, Umar Zakaria.
I think in all the years that I've played double bass, there have been more years that I haven't owned my own double bass than I have owned my own double bass. I've always figured out a way to rent a double bass from a company, or a friend has been out of town or out of the country. Can I rent your bass? Can I borrow your bass? Can I use your bass for a while? My family are from Singapore. We are Malay, and I started primary school here. And then I ended up going back to primary school in Singapore for 6 years. And then I ended up moving back to New Zealand again for high school after that. And all through that time, I wasn't really interested in music. And nowadays, when you say Malay, people probably think first, oh, Malaysian. I know there's a country called Malaysia. But really, Malay people are spread out not only in Malaysia, but also in Singapore and Indonesia, and I think maybe south of Thailand as well, and in Brunei. Malay music takes a lot of different influences. I guess that area of the world, where Malacca is especially, there's been a lot of trade and a lot of international visitors over many, many, decades. And it's picked up a lot of different cultural influences, Chinese influences, Middle Eastern influences, Arab influences, and also a little bit of Portuguese influence. And obviously, even when you say Malay, within the group that now we just call it Malay, there's a lot of, subgroups within that. When I was studying jazz in high school, I learned about this trumpet player called Dizzy Gillespie, and he had a pianist working with him named Danilo Perez. And I think I saw somewhere that Danilo told a story about how Dizzy asked him, when are you gonna deal with the music of where you come from? From that, I started to think about Malay music and how I could make Malay music part of my improvisation, my composition, my approach to music.
At its heart, Umar's music explores influences from traditional rhythms like zapin or joget that can be heard across the region, from Singapore to Brunei and even Indonesia.
Yeah.
So when you say Malay music,
yep,
you're talking about music that probably exists in all of these countries in
Yeah.
some form or the other?
Yeah, it's like, well, you can say that it's very, incorporates a lot of ideas and influences, and that's what makes it Malay, but that doesn't mean you can point at something and say it looks Malay now. I had learned a lot about other kinds of music, so I'd listen to this Malay music and be like, well, that sounds like a Chinese thing, and that sounds like an Indian sound, and that sounds like a Middle Eastern sound, and which part of this is Malay? I actually can't tell. I think that part of it suits me very well, especially as a jazz musician, incorporating a lot of influences from musicians I admire and sounds that I admire, and knowing that that's also a possibility in the music. And the food. So Malay food, for me, it's just like, oh, that's right. That's what food is. When you play improvised music, for example, when we go to these jam sessions, sometimes we don't know who we're playing with in the beginning. And we just go in and say, do you know this song? Yes, I know this song, so let's play this song together. And through playing together, we kind of get a sense of what kind of person we're playing with, through what kind of musical decisions they make. And I guess what that says to me is that in music, you communicate who you are, in a sense, whether you like it or not. And what fearless music is about is finding or insisting on your own sincerity and your own freedom when you play, so that you communicate yourself honestly and say, I'm not playing what I think I should play, I'm playing what I really want to play. none of the really great musicians that we aspire to emulate, who changed the music, who created the music, who made the music what we love, are people who played what other people told them to play. You know, that's very much a part of the music, not only the freedom dimension, but the dimension of exploring and creating something new and changing the music. We're building a castle brick by brick, you know. We've got the brick of the jazz improvisation, we've got the brick of the Malay music, and I hope that, you know, maybe in 5 or 10 years, you'll have something that looks like a house that you can walk into and say, well, this is Umar's music, and these are the kinds of things that Umar is trying to tell me, and these are the kinds of awesome sounds that he's using them to tell me. That's what I'm hoping for.
The pull of the stage and gig life, like for any musician, is a pretty hard thing to resist. But these days, Umar's mostly buried deep in his PhD research. And in many ways, that's digging into his own roots, really.
My research is about Malay composers in Singapore because there hasn't been a lot of documentation on it. So it's a struggle, and everybody is trying to do their own research to figure out what Malay music is and how do we play it. So I'm trying to do research to understand and communicate what they're doing and how that makes the Malay traditional music scene in Singapore really special. I know that my parents came through that, and through that, I'm a product of those experiences. And I'm also a product of that community. So I'm trying to give something back, and it feels fulfilling to try to do so.